Hello, I'm Todd Phillips, the editor of Canadian Auto Dealer. We're here today with Andrew Tai, the president of Motoinsight, a digital retailing provider serving dealerships and OEMs. Andrew, we talked earlier in the pandemic just to get a sense of how dealers in the industry were responding to this unprecedented situation of having to do more online remote sales. I'm sure that your business has changed since then. Can you bring us up to speed about what you've seen from some of your dealer and OEM clients in the midst of this in terms of embracing some of these new tools?
Hey, Todd, good to be back with you, and glad that this time while we're talking, it looks like dealerships in the rest of the world are slowly starting to reopen, which is certainly something that we've been looking forward to. I think through the last few months, we have seen continued and rapid adoption of new ways of doing business and new ways of engaging consumers, both from dealers and automakers. And digital retailing is a really big word, and there's a lot of different perspectives on it. But ultimately, it's about being able to serve the customer the way they want to shop. And consumer behavior has absolutely evolved. I think that's one of the going to be the lasting things that will remain past this pandemic. That consumers are going to crave convenience, and the bar kind of for convenience and shopping experiences has been raised, right? And we're going to have to adapt and evolve in automotive. But we one recent story that stuck out to me, that I was talking to a dealer. This month he's going to be on track to do about 70% of the volume that he did this time last year. But he's doing it entirely differently, right? And with only about 30% of his sales staff, for example, back in the store. And so finding ways to be more efficient, finding ways to serve customers with greater convenience. A lot of that comes back to the tools that are available now, like digital retailing, that allow the customer to self-serve and do more, without even being in the store. That's going to continue to be more and more mainstream.
Well, another challenge, I guess, with the industry as they adopt the new tools is it's a process change, it's a people change, and the technology and the tools have been there for a long time and have been available, but dealerships, for a host of reasons, have had a difficulty implementing it. In a case like this, I've heard some dealers say this has really fast forwarded their ability to use these tools and certainly deal with that staff acceptance level too, because people are, they have really no choice. So can you speak to us a little bit about the barriers that you see the pandemic may be lifting or erasing for some dealerships that have been trying to go down this path before?
Yeah, for sure. I think, there's two sides of this. I think for, dealer principals and owners and leadership that were potentially once hesitant to make dramatic changes to their business because things were going well, right? Up until this pandemic, I think, businesses in our industry were doing exceptionally well. It's always hard to kind of make dramatic changes and disrupt yourself, if you will, when things are going swimmingly. But that's really the most important time to be looking at it. And for those that have been working on their digital and online strategy for some time when the pandemic kicked in, they were able to react immediately. And engage customers online and with e-commerce without skipping a beat. But I think for those dealers that were hesitant, that were perhaps a bit on the sidelines, that realized that consumer shopping behaviors were changing, and there was no stopping it because they are too consumers, but just were hesitant to make the dramatic changes to their business while things were going well. I think they have no reason not to now. And so I think from owners, leadership, management, there really is no reason not to rethink the business model and adapt now. They're kind of being forced to in many ways, right? That said, on the dealership staff standpoint, I think that's the other end of it. Even if a dealership owner or manager or leadership wants to make dramatic changes, you have to be able to bring your people through it. Right. And I think that was a significant resistance point in many dealerships where staff have been doing something one way forever, and getting them to change that process, a sales team to change the way they do business was tremendously difficult. Right. And I think now the same attitude shift we've seen as well, where a staff that may have been resistant to change, once upon a time have realized the reset button has been hit in many ways. And so those barriers that were traditionally a challenge, I think very much have shifted. That said, I think you hit it on the nail. There's three parts to this. There's people, there's process, and then there's platform. Platform has been available for some time now. Platform like ours, we continue to invest in it, and it continues to get better, right? So that's available for those that want to adopt change. But the ability to influence and the appetite of people for that change, we've seen a dramatic shift in that. So that's where the opportunity to capture right now is, and then it's just implementing the right process, and that's why we believe technologies is half the battle. You have to have a great technology platform that does the job, but actually being able to identify the right processes. We spend about as much time working with dealers on that than simply implementing technology.
Well, Andrew, for a long time, you've been really an advocate of a digital first model. And we talked earlier, you mentioned, some examples in the US, Carvana particularly, doing well in terms of sometimes the investment community will vote on where they think industries are going to go. Maybe give us a bit of insight in terms of, what that signals to you in terms of whether the digital first movers really are getting even a financial advantage.
Yeah, for sure. I think we do a lot of research in our business and among our team to really try to help provide dealers insights, not just in best practices on how they operate their dealership, but even looking at what are the leaders and the best in class examples out there. And so we spend a lot of time breaking down Carvana, and one of the things that's become apparent actually through the last couple months is if you simply look at their stock price performance year to date, right, from the beginning of this year till now, they're actually up a few points year to date, which is crazy when you think about the impact to the economy, the overall turmoil in the broader stock market. When you compare Carvana's stock performance to any of the other major dealer groups that are publicly traded, the major dealer groups are down anywhere plus 10% to plus 30%. I mean, down over 10% or up to or down 30%. In many cases, so you can be up a few points or down anywhere 10 to 30%. In that benchmark comparison, and I think there's a lot of different reasons that go into it. Okay. However, at the end of the day, the biggest difference is the digital first approach that Carvana has led their business with, and I think that's just another eye opener for dealer principals and owners as they think about their businesses and building value in their businesses. One important guiding indicator is that the investment community, really is backing a digital first approach. And so I think, it behooves dealer owners and dealer principals and dealer management to really think about, what is the next phase of their business look like, and how do they build value into the future, and being able to digitize that sales process, engage customers, in the way that they want through digital retailing. I think is something that cannot be missed anymore, and needs to be core to the strategy if indeed building value for the long term is important. And we're seeing that play out in the public markets. But I think when we think about building value in even a single dealership, the tools are available now for that dealer to evolve their business. I think what's interesting actually is we work with some of the largest dealer groups in our business, as well as small independent family owned franchises and operators. And you would think that the biggest dealer groups would have all the advantages, and indeed they do. They have many advantages as it relates to scale. But I think watching this happen through the pandemic, I think some of the individual operators, family-owned, single point dealerships, that have been exceptionally fast on their feet in adapting, are actually doing exceptionally well. And I think that's one of the things that technology and e-commerce kind of democratizes actually. And you see that playing out with the recent performance of Shopify as an example that enable SMBs in other industries to sell things online. Any store, whether you're a small business or big business, now has access to that. And I think the same holds true in automotive, which is obviously where we focus.
Well, it's a great answer, Andrew. Another thing I wanted to pivot to is a press release, I guess, that came across our desk this week about Honda selling out the Type R limited edition, online totally without any, test drives, that sort of stuff. Can you sell cars online? Can you sell them quickly? How does that work?
Yeah.
So it's one of your clients, so maybe at the OEM level, maybe describe a little bit of that story for us and really what you think it signals for the industry.
Yeah, we were really proud to partner with Honda. They've been a longtime partner of ours, but particularly with this most recent model launch of the new Honda Civic Type R. They sold out their inventory allocation. It's a limited edition, but they sold out their inventory allocation of 100 units in just about under 4 minutes, which is an awesome experience. That's got to be a record somewhere. I haven't looked it up, but that's got to be a record somewhere. And certainly, I think gives some of Tesla's iconic launches a bit of a run for their money. In that experience, they had a new model launching, right? One of the challenges in this market is dealerships are still barely open. So how do you do that in a unique and effective way that allows consumers still to engage? Even though stores are closed in many respects or just barely open. And so in that Honda Civic Type R launch, consumers were able to go online, review all the vehicle details, and actually reserve it online through our e-commerce platform. It was powered by Motoinsight. Reserve it with a credit card deposit. Ultimately, every single one of those cars will be sold by dealerships. I want to be really clear about that. This is a platform and a tool that Honda put in place to facilitate customers online ordering vehicles that ultimately are fulfilled by the franchise dealer. We think the franchise dealer continues to have a critical role to play. But we're seeing more and more OEMs really invest in the technology because it is complex and can be significant investments. The dealers will be getting help from OEMs, I think, in the coming months, quarters, and years. I think every OEM is working on what their digital strategy is to support online commerce and digital sales for dealerships. But this is just one further example that this is real. This is not an aberration anymore, right? When I think the Tesla first launched, its Model 3, or even the Model S, going further back, and they were selling out their online orders. It was easy to dismiss and say, oh yeah, you know what, that's different, right? But as Tesla has become more mainstream, I think that consumer experience has become status quo. I think consumers have seen that type of experience, being able to transact online as baseline in practically every other retail industry, and they're starting to expect that in automotive. And now we're bringing that to the mainstream. In fact, this wasn't the first online e-commerce enabled pre-order experience that we enabled for Honda. We've done it in other instances as well. Honda launched earlier in the year a motorcycle that was also a unique model that sold out not in 4 minutes, took a little bit longer than that, but also sold out online. At the Toronto Auto Show earlier this year, we helped Genesis here in Canada launch the GV80, which had an online pre-order that saw significant momentum and volumes. But even on that one, it was unique. They were taking pre-orders from the auto show floor on tablets using our e-commerce platform as well. So this is about just being able to engage customers where they are and allow them to shop conveniently the way they want. The consumers absolutely want this, and we were really excited to be a part of Honda's experience. And congratulations to them for a tremendous outcome for a great vehicle.
I'm glad you mentioned the dealership involvement there, because obviously, dealerships want to be front and center in the transaction. So certainly the deal will happen at the dealership. But what it does speak to a certain extent is the evolution of things like test drives and sort of the mainstay of the dealership experience is no one's going to buy a car, is grip the wheel, seal the deal. There's a lot of sort of, cliches, I guess, in the industry, but dealers really want to hold on to that. There's a lot of truth to that. Many consumers will not want to purchase that big a ticket item without a test drive. But if they're able to sort of, really navigate all of that online, all the transactions, all the financing, all that sort of stuff, it is something that consumers are asking for. So I think there's definitely going to be growth in there. For dealers, what would you say, looking forward, what do they need to do to really embrace and take the next steps to get there? Because I think they're trying in the midst of the pandemic, and sometimes crisis is a great time to do stuff, but it's not always the best way to do stuff in a planned, well executed plan. What would you say to dealers going to go down that path to digital retail now that they're opening up? How do they carve out enough time, training, process to do it right?
For sure. I think, you're absolutely right. In the crisis, you're not able to get things perfect. And, in many ways, you're just kind of hacking together the best that you can to get through. And so I think as we look at reopening and as we look at kind of building, the experience of the future, what I would encourage dealers to think about really is take a step back and take your dealer hat off for a second. And just think about the consumer experiences that you see around you, that you use personally, right? That your family may use, that your friends may use. Think about those best-in-class consumer experiences, and then compare that to how buying a car works, in your own store, right? And I think when you always frame it in that, it shows the tremendous opportunity to enhance and improve the customer experience. One piece of encouragement I will give to dealers, though, that we are still in the very early innings of this. And so the opportunity to differentiate, the opportunity to capture opportunity through this evolution of consumer experience is absolutely still there, right? And so it's not too late by any stretch, right? But action does need to be taken. I think I would encourage dealers to just have a sense and attitude for experimentation and to try to do things differently. I mentioned earlier at the outset that we've sensed that shift among many of the dealers that we've talked to, and even at the OEM level. But you look at Honda. And their attitude for experimentation and innovation. They captured a tremendous result here. Not only just the simple fact of having those 100 units sell out in 4 minutes in the midst of a pandemic where many of the stores were closed. There was a business result there, but at the same time, they learned a tremendous amount of what is possible, and also delivered a leap forward in the customer experience, and they're just going to continue to build upon that. So that attitude of experimentation, I think, is really important in combination with just looking at other retail experiences and how you can translate those into your own store.
Well, Andrew, that's some great advice and some great insights. Always enjoy talking to you. Always like to touch base and see where the industry's at. And I'm sure it won't be the last time we connect because, as you say, we're in the early innings and many innings yet to play. But again, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, always a pleasure to be with you, Todd. Hope everybody stays safe, and we all head towards a strong rebound as the world reopens. We'll talk again soon.
Okay. Thanks, Andrew.
Thanks.
Signing off.